So this one, it's already drawn in, but if you have a, an L-shaped figure that looks like this, you would just draw your line here. You could theoretically draw it here if you wanted to, like if that wasn't already drawn for you. But essentially you split it up into two rectangles, and then make sure you know, like, okay, this is a vertical side. That means the sum of these two sides is going to be equal to that. So like this is 10. These two sides are equal. How do we know that? Because these markings show equality. And each of those are 5. So 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 10 is 50. So this equals 10. This equals 50. Your answer is 60. Pretty reasonable. I don't think that's all that difficult. These are two rectangles, and you just find the area of both of them. This piece right here, it's a little bit more challenging, but it's not that crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and split it into a rectangle and a triangle. So a rectangle is just simply base times height. A triangle is 1/2 base times height. My rectangle is easy. Like, it's 4 times 5, so it's 20. The triangle is a little more complicated because you don't have the height or like the base initially. You've got to look at it and figure that out, but it's not, all that complicated to figure out. So there's my height. It's kind of crooked, but, it shouldn't be. And here's my base. The base of this is not 4. Like, this is a rectangle, so that's 4 and that is 4. 2 plus 4 plus 2, the base of that triangle is going to be 8. So just add those 3 numbers together. And then the height of that is just the total shape is 7 units tall, and then the rectangle is 5 units tall, so just, subtract. The total minus the rectangle is 2, because these are all vertical lines. So that means 1/2 times 8 times 2. So the area is going to be 8, because the 1/2 and the 2 can cancel out. 28 is your total. Let us move on. To this one. All right, to this shape. Like, most people when they look at it, they're like, oh, I see like a semicircle and then a triangle and then like another weird looking shape that's kind of like a trapezoid. Don't do it like that. There's an easier way to do it. You've got 2 shapes. One is a trapezoid, or one is a parallelogram, and one is a parallelogram plus semicircle. Okay, and then on the delta, you may see like a parallelogram with 2 semicircles attached. If there's 2 semicircles attached, that equals 1 full circle. It just kind of, there's lots of different shapes that you could possibly see. But this one, I would not split it into a triangle. I would say parallelogram, which is this shape right here. So the parallelogram is just simply base times height. The base is 26. The height is perpendicular to that 26, so it's 5. And then 26 times 5 is something. 130? All right. And then a semicircle is just the area of a circle with a 1/2 in front of it, because it's half of a circle. So you just cut the area of the circle in half. It's fairly simple. Things that you need to notice is that this is 8 over here, so that means the diameter of that semicircle is 8. But we need the radius, so we have to cut 8 in half in order to get the radius. So 1/2 times pi times 4 squared, or 16 divided by 2, 16 times 1/2 is 8, which you could just put this entire thing into the calculator, and it would, give you the answer, or you can put this more simplified version into the calculator. 130 plus 8 times pi, and you're going to get 155.1. So, however you want to do it. If you want to do 26 times 5 plus half times pi times 4 squared, you're going to get the same thing. Oh, I cannot see that. Like, you will end up with the same thing, no matter if you put this or that in the calculator. It's up to you. Okay, this one is slightly different because you have a rectangle and then you've got like a funky looking shape. Like, it's almost like someone has taken a bite out of this rectangle. The bite part, I guess we'll call it, is a semicircle. So you do have a rectangle, and you do have a semicircle. The problem is they're no longer added. Like this one was parallelogram added to a semicircle. We are taking the semicircle away from the rectangle, so we are instead going to subtract. So for the rectangle, or the base times height, I'm just going to do 16 times 4. So 64 would be the total area. But then you must subtract this piece right here. You want to take that away. So 1/2. Okay, my diameter is 4. Therefore, my radius is 2. Because you need to cut that in half. There's going to be a lot of like looking on one side of the rectangle and then knowing that the other side of the rectangle is the same length. So make sure you can identify that. So we've got pi, we've got 2 squared. You can type that whole thing into the calculator and get your answer. This is going to be 2 pi, because 2 squared is 4. Cut that in half, you get 2. 64, oops, minus 2 pi. The reason you don't need parentheses is because it will do PEMDAS and multiply before it subtracts. So you're going to get 57.7. You're welcome to put parentheses if you like, but you don't have to. All right, and then this last one, there's multiple ways to do it. You're going to see problems like this. It's up to you how you want to solve it. You can either look at this and say, this is a trapezoid. I want to use the trapezoid formula. Go for it. Or you can do rectangle minus triangle, because you want the shaded region. So that rectangle, which is 13 times 17, will give you the full area of this shape, and then you just subtract the white part. So 13 times 17 is 221. And the triangle, here's the deal with the triangle. It's 1/2 base times height. The base is 13. The height is not going to be 17. The height is the difference between 17 and 10. It's like what's left over right there. So 17 minus 10 is 7. So where did that come from? I just, subtracted. But 13 times 7 times 0.5 is 45.5. So 221 minus 45.5 is 175.5. So that's one way you can do it, or you could just type it in. I'm not going to write it, but I'll show you guys that you can type in the trapezoid formula. So 1/2 the height, which we'll look at it like this. So 1/2 13 times 10 plus 17. You're going to get the same answer. So do it however you wish. If you prefer to just type it in as the trapezoid formula, go for it. And then same idea right here. You can take the trapezoid formula and then subtract the rectangle because you're wanting the shaded area, or you could just take the two areas of the triangle and add them together. I mean, just use your best judgment on whatever you think is the easiest. I'm going to do triangle plus triangle. So 6.4 times 9.1 times 1/2, because it's a triangle. And then that's the area of this one. These have the same height. So 9.6 for the base, 9.1 for the height. And you can type this entire thing in the calculator. 0.5 times 6.4 times 9.1 plus 0.5 times 9.6 times not 91. And you're going to get the area of both of them. 72.8. But, I mean, it's just area of the triangles and add them together.